I'm Dr. Alan Olo-Austin, the founder of the Trigenics Treatment and Training System. Whether you are an elite athlete striving for Olympic gold, a professional athlete competing at the top level of your sport, or simply an amateur athlete, sports enthusiast, avid golfer, or weekend warrior, this video is for you.
Trigenics has some world-class athletes jumping higher and running faster.
This works. This is good stuff.
And a final note on tomorrow's concert, the performers will be able to rock away without worrying about strains and sprains.
Enter Dr. Alan Austin to the stars, coming to their emotional rescue.
Celebrities like John Cusack, Farrah Fawcett, and David Bowie have all benefited from it.
Okay, welcome back to City Line. In this next story, we're going to see a new treatment for pain that's being used by a bevy of Hollywood stars and athletes.
World-renowned for his innovative manual medicine techniques, your host, Dr. Alan Olo-Austin, has treated innumerable professional and Olympic athletes, famous actors, musicians, and singers. The new treatment and exercise technology is called Trigenics Myoneural Medicine, which incorporates advances in applied functional neurology discovered by Dr. Olo-Austin. Trigenics Myoneural exercises stimulate nerve pathways which control strength, speed, and range of movement. After many years of research and clinical study, Dr. Olo-Austin has discovered how to manipulate and reroute nerve signal pathways and brain-to-body communications to instantly relieve pain, strengthen muscles, and improve movement. Dr. Olo-Austin is an osteopathic and chiropractic physician with specialty designations in rehabilitative and sports medicine. Dr. Olo-Austin also has a PhD in manual medicine, specializing in neurokinetics, which is how the brain controls movement and pain.
Thanks for joining me here today in this Trigenics exercises for a healthy athletic back. This is an exercise video unlike any other that you've seen before. All of it is backed with solid scientific research. All of the latest research material that has to do with exercise, that has to do with training, is all used in this video here today. So if you're doing these exercises, you're on the cutting edge of what it takes to have a strong, healthy, athletic back. There's going to be 4 different types of exercises, 4 that we're going to be actually doing in this Trigenics Myoneural exercise video. You're used to 2. The first one that you're going to be used to, essentially, is one like this, where you actually contract a muscle. This would be the biceps against weight, and the brain is registering that there's a load on that muscle. There's nerve sensors in there registering that there's a load on the muscle, and the brain has to secrete neurochemicals that go down to that muscle and say, you know, you need to grow a little bit. If every day I'm going to be doing that, I need to increase the size of this muscle a little bit to meet that load. The other one that you're used to doing, which we're not going to do, is a static stretch. Static stretching is not good for you. That means you'd be doing something whereby you would just simply be doing something like this and holding that position to try and stretch out the hamstrings, for instance. Hold and try and pull your body down. You're not going to be doing that. So that's not one of the 4, but those are the 2 that you're used to doing. One we will be doing, and we'll be doing that if there's no possible way that we can add one of the Trigenics components in. We may do one of the basic strengthening exercises against resistance. But the second one that we're going to do, which you're not going to be used to, is a Trigenics Myoneural strengthening enhancement procedure, which I'll just refer to as a Trigenics strengthening procedure, or TS. And in that case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be actually increasing the load on the muscle by actually distorting those nerve sensors while you do the contraction. So that's going to actually supersize your muscle, the Trigenics Myoneural strengthening exercise. And the third one that we're going to be doing is a Trigenics, a self-Trigenics strengthening exercise. That means you're actually going to be doing a treatment on the muscle. If a muscle is inhibited and not receiving the proper signals neurologically, before we do the super enhancement exercises, we have to actually increase the neurological input to the muscle. And for that, we're going to be doing an exercise whereby you will be resisting your own pressure. Martha, I just want you to lend your hand to me and just lightly resist the other hand, sorry. Lightly resist this hand. You're going to be doing this to yourself, and I'm going to use Martha as an example. You're just going to lightly hold my hand, and there's going to be a little bit of resistance, but let me move. Let me move. Okay? There's a little resistance there. Now we're going to show you how to do this on yourself without another person there. That's the self-Trigenics strengthening exercise that we're going to be doing. And the fourth exercise, and you're going to learn how to apply that resistance to yourself. Obviously, you're not always going to have a partner. I'm just using Martha now as an example of how that exercise kind of works, the self-Trigenics treatment strengthening exercise. The fourth one is it's going to be an exercise where you're going to actually lengthen the muscle. Instead of static stretching, what we're going to do is we're going to neurologically facilitate the muscle in such a way as to cause elongation. And that means that we're actually going to cut down on, decrease the number of signals that the brain is sending to that muscle, which will cause it to let go and elongate. So there's your 4 different exercises that we're going to be doing in this Trigenics myoneural exercise video today. Is we're going to actually start in on some of the exercises to develop a healthy athletic back. Now, before we do, there are some principles that you're going to need to be aware of in order for you to maintain a healthy athletic back and to build a healthy athletic back, and in order to not create any damage while you're doing these exercises. One of the things that's going to be important is to literally brace your abdomen. So what I'm saying here is the abdomen needs to be, during all of the exercises, needs to be contracted. All of the muscles of the abdomen, not just the rectus abdominis, but also the oblique muscles in here. Now, we're not talking about sucking in like this. We're not talking about that. We're talking about bracing so that it's solid without pulling it in. If you pull it, this is all research-based, evidence-based knowledge that we now have. They've done electromyographic studies and so on and so forth during specific exercises. And all of the things that we're going to tell you about in the exercise video here today is all current research. So you're going to be when you do the exercise, you're going to be holding your stomach in all areas of your stomach tight, and you're going to also be arching your, not arching, but it's kind of straightening your lower back during all the exercises. The one thing you don't want to do during any of the exercises, unless it's actually part of the exercise or meant to be done during the exercise, is you don't want to be rounding the lower back. Okay? You don't want to be doing that. So that's one of the primary, most important things to remember during all of your Trigenics exercises. The first muscle that we're going to talk about here today is one of the primary stabilizer muscles of the lower back. There are 2 different types of muscles basically in the body. One is, the first type is the stabilizers, slow twitch muscle fibers, stabilizers. They fire slowly. They need to be able to be contracting all the time without building up too many waste products and so on and so forth. To be in their normal state is a state of some degree of contracture that is maintained for long periods of time. And they also need to be able to make gross or large movements and change the movements of large parts of the body. The other muscles are the movers, the ones that enable you to literally move, to do things. They're more refined. The fibers fire faster, and they're literally responsible for the movement of of all of the different parts of your body. So you have your stabilizers, you have your movers. The one we're going to talk about here today is the quadratus lumborum. The quadratus lumborum, commonly referred to as the QL. The QL. So if I say the QL, you know it means the quadratus lumborum. The quadratus lumborum is a muscle that starts in the back area, in the rib, the lowermost rib, and it also attaches to all of the vertebrae, the bones in your lower back, and it attaches to the hip, the crest of the hip here, and it goes kind of like a slight crisscross like this, but it's a kind of fat, sort of meaty muscle that is one of the most important primary stabilizing muscles of the lower back. If that muscle isn't strong and it doesn't hold those vertebrae in place and give it some kind of a fulcrum for movement, when the sprinter, for instance, is going really, really fast and all the moving muscles that are pulling up the hips and pulling on the spine, because the hip flexors that bring up the hips also attach to the spine, if that muscle is loose and wobbly, there's a good possibility that the athlete's going to develop an injury if he pushes it too hard. So this muscle is critically important, and it is one of the most overlooked muscles, the quadratus lumborum. We're going to do a Trigenics lengthening procedure here for the quadratus lumborum, which is one of the core stabilizers. Martha is now going to demonstrate for us a total body core strengthening exercise that focuses on the abdominal area as well as the lower back extensor muscles, which are the muscles that support you while you're standing, this entire region. Now, in addition to that, when we do this exercise, you're going to see that the extensor muscles in her legs, the hamstrings, the gastrocs, and even the musculature in the anterior neck area, as well as some of the upper back extensors, are all going to be engaged during this exercise. So it's a great core stabilizing total body exercise. Now, there is a way to do the torso twist so that you can actually work the corset of muscles, which is the external oblique muscles that go this way as if you're putting your hands in your pocket, and they come around and attach into the back muscles and interdigitate with those muscles, and then the other internal oblique muscles which fan out this way and wrap around and join into the lower back musculature. That's a whole corset that you have. It's important to build that up to strengthen it, but research has shown that if you really twist with your hips too much, that it puts a great load on the discs in the lower back. So if you're susceptible to lower back problems, you don't want to quite do it that way. The way you're going to do this is you're going to just stand with your feet a little bit wider apart than your shoulders, and with the knees slightly bent. And we're going to be going up and down on our toes as we do the exercise. You can also feel it in the upper trapezius area in your shoulders, that area where all that lactic acid builds up when you're doing all of your computer work and so on and so forth. So this goes all the way up the whole body and works that whole entire chain of muscles. Okay, now this is a Trigenics strengthening exercise for the lower back that's going to really burn those lumbar erector spinae, the extensor muscles in the lower back that connect the pelvis up to the ribs and to the spine. Very important muscles. You got to do this right. If you extend too much and your head comes up too far, you're going to put a little bit too much of a load on the discs in your lower back. How does that feel right now?
It's really burning.
It's really burning in there. It's really, really strong in there, isn't it?
That's great.
Yeah. So be careful with this one. Don't overdo it. This is going to really work those muscles in there if you do it right. For the gluteal muscles. When the gluteal muscles are not firing the way that they should be, we're going to increase the neurological input by doing the self-trigenics. And there you have your self-trigenics myoneural strengthening exercise. A great exercise for the quadriceps, okay, is this exercise we're going to do now. Remember, when you're doing quad exercises, be really careful, because the exercises that they have where you sit in a seat and you put some weights on your ankles and then you straighten out your leg this way, with the weights has been shown to be not really too good for the underside of the kneecap, and it could lead to patellofemoral syndrome, which is going to create a lot of knee pain, a lot of problems if you're an athlete. It's not a highly recommended exercise to be doing, especially if you're prone to knee or lower back problems as well. So the exercise that I recommend, there's 2 exercises for the quad. You're going to really feel it burning in here. Great exercise for the groin, great exercise for the quads. Why is that important? Because the quadriceps attach to the pelvis, and if the quads are too tight or not strong enough, it's going to affect the alignment of that pelvis. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to put pressure on the spine, which attaches to the pelvis. However the pelvis is sitting is how the discs are going to be torqued in your lower back. So you need to keep these muscles strong, and you need to keep them balanced between the front and the back. This is one of the exercises that'll do that for you. This is an advanced procedure for the abdominal region. Don't do this if you are actually experiencing a back problem. If your back is quite strong and you want to go on to increasing the strength of the lower abdominal area, then you're going to do this exercise. She's about to do a lengthening procedure. Martha's going to do a Trigenics lengthening procedure for the gluteal area, which is an all-important area that does tighten up. You know that saying, pain in the butt. Well, that actually saying, the pain in the butt and the pain in the neck saying that you probably heard so often, comes because those are the muscles that respond to stress. The muscles in the buttock, gluteal area, and the muscles in the neck respond to that fight or flight mechanism, which engages whenever we're under stress. So we need to actually elongate those muscles, because when they tighten up, they start to cause the pelvis to shift. They cause it to retrovert, and when that happens, it causes too much pressure again on the discs and the joints of the lower back, which in turn causes the muscles of the lower back and the small muscles of the spine to contract reflexively, and that contraction or spasm can often cause pain. Now we're going to do an elongation or lengthening procedure for the right erector spinae, the muscles in the lower back on the right hand side, as well as the muscles on the opposite side. This is a spiral diagonal procedure. The muscles in the extensor group of muscles in your leg, the hamstring area. So we're going to do it's going to be cutting through the body this way. Alright, so we're going to be, just turn right around, turn around, step around, face me. And we're going to be elongating the muscles here and muscles in here. Okay, so let's face the camera again. Okay, so now we're going to develop the important gluteal muscles, which is a really basic exercise for the gluteals and the muscles in the buttock region. Very important muscles to maintain stability and strength of the pelvis. Now here's the lengthening procedure for the hip flexor, the psoas muscle, which goes from the leg bone, courses through the abdominal cavity, then attaches to the discs and the vertebrae of your lower back. Now we're going to do a lengthening procedure, Trigenics lengthening procedure for the psoas. We can either use the thumb if you can get in far enough, or you can use the fingers in here. Now it's in toward the groin, strengthening that core stabilizer and lengthening the all-important psoas muscle, which connects the leg to the lower back. Here's an exercise for you to work all of the back extensor muscles and the hip flexors in the way that you would be normally using the muscles of your back and your hips in your normal daily activities of walking and so on and so forth. The spiral diagonal is the way that you normally walk this way. So here's an example of exercising the hip flexors, the lower portion and the upper portion simultaneously. Starting to get winded already. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise that literally works all of the muscles in the upper back region and the middle back region, and it even works some of the muscles in the chest and the pectoral region as well.
I feel it in the front.
In the front, and you feel it in the back, you feel it, triceps, biceps, you feel it everywhere.
Yep.
And you're breathing, you're starting to breathe, you're actually working up a sweat. If you keep doing those exercises like that, you're going to work all of those muscles. And the important thing about this particular exercise is it's also going to work the muscles in here that experience static loading stress, for all of you people that are sitting at computers and working at desks day in and day out, or driving. These muscles in here build up a lot of lactic acid. They begin to become chronically stiff and tight. The histology, which means the tissue itself, begins to show changes. Not good. If you do these exercises, you work that, you oxygenate these muscles, and there will be a lot less tension and stress in this area of your back as well, which is what you need. The next muscle group, really it's a group of muscles, but they all kind of are all together doing something similar, which is extension of the back. Okay, extension and sometimes a little bit of rotation, posterior or backwards rotation, either bilaterally extending or rotating and extending. These are called the erector spinae. Obviously, these are very important muscles for structural support, because of these muscles that go in a V-shaped fashion like this, starting at the lower part of the back, attaching to the sacrum, the hard bone here, and the ilium, coming up in a V fashion this way. Okay, if they're not constantly receiving signals from the brain telling them to contract at a certain force, Martha would literally crumble and fall down and not be able to hold herself up. So these muscles are constantly, these are stabilizing muscles, they're also mover muscles, so they're kind of in between. But they are constantly receiving signals and they're constantly contracting with a certain amount of force. These muscles are also critically important for maintaining stability of the lower back during athletic performance. That is your erector spinae, very important muscles for stability in your lower back. Well, here's another exercise that's important for core stability. These are the oblique muscles of your abdomen, which you're going to be using, as well as a number of other spiral diagonal muscles in your body that are sort of oblique in their action. Increase your core stability. Okay, the next move for core stability of the spine uses a ball. You've got to use a gym ball for this. And what Martha's going to do is she's going to show us now what main thing you need to do is remember to keep the spine flat. Keep, again, the spine. No rotation, no bending, no curving, no arching of the back. Spine is perfectly flat. Your basic squat. Your basic squat is not designed to go down too far, but it's designed to be done with the abdominal cavity, the abdominal muscles, I should say, and the back muscles contracted, forming a brace, continually contracted. There's your squat progression. For spinal joint mobility, because the discs of the back are not supplied after the age of 19 with a proper blood supply, only the peripheral third of the discs, not the internal part of the disc, actually receive any blood. So the discs depend upon mobility and movement to maintain the water supply, and the consistency and the integrity of those discs depends upon some degree of movement, which is why sitting for prolonged periods of time is a good exercise for mobility of the spinal discs. Now the next thing that we're going to do for a flexibility exercise, she's going to sit down and just put her legs in a V, open V, open V. And the most important thing to remember with this exercise is that she has to keep her back flat. She can never round her back during this exercise. There you go for spinal stability and flexibility. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dr. Alan Olo-Austin, the founder of Trigenics Myoneural Medicine and Trigenics Exercises.